Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in the small village of Mvezo in South Africa. His birth name was Rolihlahla Mandela, a Xhosa name often translated as pulling the branch of a tree, or more informally, troublemaker. He spent his early childhood in the village of Kunu, where daily life revolved around nature, livestock, and community traditions. He herded cattle, walked long distances across open land, and took part in the routines of rural life. Even at a young age, he was exposed to the oral traditions of his people. Elders gathered in the evenings to tell stories about African history, leadership, and moral responsibility. These stories emphasized dignity, courage, and the idea that leaders exist to serve their communities. When Mandela was 9 years old, his father died after a long illness. This event changed the course of his life. He was taken to live at the royal residence of Chief Jangantaba Dalandaibo, the acting regent of the Thembu people. At the Great Place, Mandela observed traditional leadership in practice. Villagers came with disputes about land, cattle, or family matters. Decisions were not made quickly. The chief listened to all sides before giving judgment. Mandela saw that leadership involved patience, consultation, and fairness rather than force. This early experience influenced his political style decades later. Mandela began formal schooling where he received the English name Nelson, a common practice under colonial rule. Education became central to his life. He completed his early studies and later attended Clarkebury and Healdtown, institutions that prepared African students for further education. Eventually, he enrolled at Fort Hare University, one of the few higher education institutions open to black South Africans at the time. There, he met students from different backgrounds who discussed politics, African nationalism, and self-determination. When students organized a boycott over university policies, Mandela joined the protest. He was expelled, marking his first direct consequence for political action. After leaving Fort Hare, Mandela returned home, where plans were made for an arranged marriage. Instead of accepting this path, he left for Johannesburg. The city exposed him to industrial life, racial segregation, and economic inequality. He worked as a mine security guard and later as a law clerk while completing his studies through correspondence. In Johannesburg, he met Walter Sisulu, who introduced him to members of the African National Congress. The ANC was working to challenge discriminatory laws through political organization and protest. Mandela formally joined the ANC in the 1940s. During this period, apartheid policies became more structured. Laws separated people by race in housing, education, employment, and political rights. Black South Africans were required to carry passbooks and faced restrictions on movement. Mandela became increasingly active in organizing resistance. Along with Oliver Tambo and others, he helped establish the ANC Youth League, which pushed for more direct action. In 1952, Mandela and Tambo opened South Africa's first black law firm. They provided legal assistance to people affected by past laws, forced removals, and police actions. Their office handled a steady flow of cases from individuals facing the daily realities of apartheid. Mandela was arrested multiple times during campaigns of civil disobedience. In 1956, he was charged with treason along with many other activists. The trial lasted several years before the charges were dropped. During this time, the political climate grew more tense. In 1960, police opened fire on unarmed protesters in Sharpeville, killing 69 people. The government responded by banning opposition organizations, including the ANC. Mandela and his colleagues concluded that peaceful protest alone was not leading to change. In 1961, Mandela helped establish Umkhonto we Sizwe, meaning Spear of the Nation. The group focused on sabotage of infrastructure to avoid loss of life while pressuring the government. Mandela operated underground, traveling secretly within the country and abroad to seek support. In 1962, he was arrested and later put on trial again during the Rivonia trial. He and other leaders were accused of sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the state. In his statement from the dock, Mandela described his commitment to a democratic society with equal opportunities. He stated that this was an ideal for which he was prepared to die. Instead of a death sentence, he received life imprisonment. Mandela was sent to Robben Island, where he spent 18 of his 27 years in prison. His cell was small and conditions were strict. Prisoners performed hard labor in a limestone quarry. Communication with family was limited to censored letters and infrequent visits. During imprisonment, Mandela experienced personal loss. His mother died in 1968 and his eldest son died in a car accident in 1969. He was not allowed to attend their funerals. Despite these hardships, he maintained a structured routine that included exercise, study, and discussion with fellow prisoners. Political education continued inside the prison, with inmates teaching one another history, law, and languages. Mandela developed a disciplined approach to dealing with prison authorities. He insisted on maintaining personal dignity and encouraged other prisoners to do the same. Over time, he learned Afrikaans to better communicate with guards and understand official documents. Gradually, some prison officials began to treat him with a degree of respect. Outside prison, international pressure grew. Governments, organizations, and activists called for his release, making him a global symbol of resistance. In the 1980s, South Africa faced internal unrest and international sanctions. The government began secret talks with Mandela while he was still imprisoned. He was moved from Robben Island to Pollsmoor Prison and later to Victor Verster Prison under less harsh conditions. The authorities offered him conditional release if he would renounce the armed struggle, but he declined, stating that only free people could negotiate. On February 11, 1990, Mandela was released. His release followed the unbanning of political organizations and the beginning of formal negotiations to end apartheid. Mandela emphasized reconciliation and peaceful transition. He worked closely with President F.W. de Klerk to dismantle apartheid laws and draft a new constitution. The negotiation period was difficult, marked by political violence and mistrust, but progress continued. In 1994, South Africa held its first democratic election with full participation across racial groups. Millions voted. Mandela cast his vote and was elected president. His government focused on national unity, institution building, and addressing inequality. One of the major initiatives of this period was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, chaired by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. The commission aimed to uncover human rights violations from the apartheid era and promote healing through public testimony. Mandela's presidency also emphasized symbolic gestures of unity. In 1995, he supported the national rugby team during the Rugby World Cup, helping to bridge racial divisions associated with the sport. His administration worked on housing, education, and healthcare reforms, though economic challenges remained significant. Mandela chose to serve only one term, stepping down in 1999 to reinforce democratic norms. After leaving office, Mandela focused on humanitarian work. He supported children's education, conflict resolution, and campaigns against HIV/AIDS. He established foundations to continue this work and participated in international peace efforts. In later years, he appeared less frequently in public due to age and health, but his influence remained strong. Nelson Mandela died on December 5, 2013. His life spanned colonial rule, apartheid, imprisonment, and democratic leadership. His journey from rural childhood to global statesman reflects long-term commitment to political change through resilience, negotiation, and institutional development. His legacy is associated with the transition from racial authoritarian rule to constitutional democracy in South Africa and continues to influence discussions about leadership, reconciliation, and justice worldwide.